Okay, so here we go. So we're looking at lecture homework 2.2 box plots. And let's take a look at what goes on with the box plot. So here's question number 1. So there is a box plot for us. Whoops. There we go. There is our box plot. Now, what in the world is a box plot? This is a box plot you're looking at. So what is all this monkey business? What is this stuff here? Well, basically what a box plot does, it breaks the data into 4 sections that all have the same number of data values. So it breaks the data into 4 quarters like a football game or a basketball game. It breaks the data into 4 even quarters. So in other words, here's the first quarter, from here to here. And here's the second quarter, just there to there. Here's the third quarter, from there to there. And here's the fourth quarter, from there to there. Now, notice they're different sizes, but they must have the same number of data values in them. I'll explain more as we go. So this box plot, so let me make up something real to help you. Let's make this more real. Suppose this is like, suppose this is quiz scores. Suppose, I gave a quiz to my class and I said, well, this is how you guys did as a whole class. Here's the results. Let's suppose I had 40 students in the class. What that would mean, notice up here it says it breaks the data into 4 sections that all have the same number of data values. That means there's 10 scores that are between 3 and 8. And there's 10 scores in this region, and 10 scores in this region, and 10 scores in that region. Do this one a little better. Is that making sense? So that would mean the 40 students in my class who took this quiz, 10 of them got a score between 3 and 8. They didn't do so well on the quiz. Another 10 of them, that's 10 students, so that's the lowest 10, the bottom 10. There's another 10 students who got a score between 8 and 10. They didn't do so well either on the quiz. And then there's another 10 students who got a score between 10 and 20. And then the top 10 students got a score between 20 and 38. Does that make sense? That's what the box plot is showing. It's taking all 40 students and breaking them into 4 even sections, meaning there's the same number of scores, student scores, in each of the 4 sections. That's why we call them 4 quarters, like a football game or basketball game. Is this good so far? Questions I can answer?
So it would be the second one would be the answer, correct?
Yeah, so let's get to the actual questions. Great question, Nicole. Let's see. What quarter has the smallest spread of data? Yeah, so which one has got the smallest spread? Yeah, Nicole's right on. It's the second one, huh? That's the most narrow. That is exactly right. So that second one is the most narrow of the 4 quarters, right? 10 students got a score between 8 and 10. That's a lot of 8s, 9s, and 10s, right? 10 students got in that narrow zone. That's right. Let's go to question B now. So question B, what is that spread? Like, in other words, how wide is that section? That section right there. So what's the answer to that? How wide is that section from 8 to 10?
3.
2, right? We just go 10 minus 8 is 2. Just subtract them. I know you might think, well, 8, 9, 10, I know what you mean, but they just want the width there. They just want how far from one edge to the other edge, how far from 8 to 10. I know what you mean about the 3, but yeah, we're not actually counting different score possibilities. We're just counting how wide. So that's just 10 minus 8 equals 2 on that. And then question C, what quarter has the largest spread? What quarter has the largest spread there? Fourth quarter, exactly, right? So this one, this one here is the widest, isn't it? So that'd be the fourth quarter is the wisest. And then the question, what is that spread?
18.
Yeah, so that spread is going to be 38 minus 20, which is 18. Yeah, good. Good. All right, good so far. Now, question E, find the interquartile range, IQR, interquartile range. What in the world does that mean? Well, I got to tell you, the IQR, interquartile range, I'll give you a little formula here. You can put it in your notes. Remember, you get a full sheet of notes, both sides, front and back for the exam. So this would be a good thing to put on there. Q3 minus Q1. That's what interquartile range means. In Q3 means end of the third quarter, and Q1 means end of the first quarter. So, okay, so what score marks the end of the third quarter up on that box plot? Where's the end of the third quarter? What scores at the end of the third quarter?
38.
Yeah, wouldn't it be Q3?
Okay, so it's going to be the 20 right here, right? Because that's the end of the third quarter. See how it says third quarter up here? Right?
Okay.
Right? So remember the 4 quarters. See how I have them marked up here? Let me make this more clear. Let me make this bigger for a second. See how I have the quarters marked? Let me do this a little better here. Here's the third quarter. So you see I have the 4 quarters marked. And so we want the score at the end of the third quarter. So that's going to be right here. This is Q3 because that's the end of the third quarter. So it's like a football game or basketball game. It's broken into 4 quarters. Here we have the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, right? 4 sections. So the end of the third quarter, Q3 is 20. Let's go back here. And so this is Q2, the end of the second quarter at 10. Q1, 8 is the end of the first quarter, isn't it? Everybody see that? So Q1 is the end of the first quarter, 8. Q2 is the end of the second quarter, 10. Q3 is the end of the third quarter, 20. So then getting back to this question, the IQR, interquartile range, Q3 minus Q1, that's going to be 20 minus 8, isn't it? Which is going to be what, 12?
Yes.
Is that good? Questions I can answer on that?
Is it always going to be quarter 3 minus quarter?
Yes, the IQR is always quarter 3 minus quarter 1. Good question. It always is. Exactly right. The interquartile range, quarter 3 minus quarter 1. Good. All right. So, and then question F.
Well, hold on one second, please. So Q3 ending would be after the dotted lines, correct?
Okay. See right up here?
Yeah,
So, and see my arrows?
yeah.
So Q3 goes from here at 10 to here at 20.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And then Q1 back here is going from 3 to 8. So the end of Q1 is 8, and the end of Q3 is 20. So from 8 to 20, right there is the IQR, the interquartile range from Q1 to Q3, 8 to 20. Right there. Good. Now, there's a lot of parts to this one. 2 more parts. F. Which interval has the most data in it? Now, this is a super tricky question, folks. I just want to give you a heads up. This is really, really tricky. Are you ready? Are you feeling sharp this morning? Let's go up and look at that question very carefully. Notice what it says. Most data. Let me first really help you be super clear on the question. It says most data, meaning most student scores, right? That's what data means. Data values, most student scores, it's not saying widest zone. That's not what it's saying. That's what everybody thinks, and that's wrong. It's not saying widest zone. It's saying most scores, most student scores, most data. So let's go back up and take a look. Now, let me remind you, this box plot, remember, it breaks it into 4 sections that all have the same number of data values. 4 sections that all have the same number of data values. So there's 40 students in the class. Remember, I just made up a number. They didn't tell us there was 40, but I just made that up to help. So suppose there was 40 students in the class. That means you would have the same amount of students in each section. Even though the sections have different widths, it's going to have the same number of students, number of data values in each section. That's what a box plot always does. It breaks up the data like a football game or basketball game into 4 equal quarters. Not equal width, but equal number of students in each section. So 10 students got in the first quarter. They got a score between 3 and 8, right? 10 students got in the second quarter. They got a score between 8 and 10. 10 students got in the third quarter. They got a score between 10 and 20. And 10 students, the top 10 students, got in the highest fourth quarter, getting a score somewhere between 20 and 38 on the quiz. They did well. Okay, does that make sense so far? Now let's go down and look at the question more closely. Which interval has the most data? Now, could it be 12 through 36? Let's go look. 12 through 36. Well, if you look at 12 through 36, let me look more closely here. 12 through 36, where does 12 start? 12 is about right here, isn't it? 12 would be a little bit to the right of 10. And 36, where's 36? It's almost to here. So 36 is about right there. 12 is about right there, right? So how many student scores do you think we're going to get between 12 and 36? How many students got a score between 12 and 36? What's the number of students that got a score between 12 and 36? We can't just subtract 36 minus 12. It's not about the width. That's the mistake everybody makes. It's not about how wide this section is. It's about how many students are in the section. Well, we know there's 10 students in the fourth quarter and 10 students in the third quarter. And this section from 12 to 36 almost uses those whole two sections, doesn't it? But not quite. Not quite. So there'd have to be less than 20 students in that section. Wouldn't there be? Are you tracking with me? You see how I'm coming up with that? If they had gone all the way from right here, 10, all the way to 38, that would have been 20 students, wouldn't it? Because that would have been the whole third quarter and the whole fourth quarter. And we know there's 10 students in each quarter. So that would have been 20. That would have been 20 students if they had gone all the way across, right? That would have been 20 students. But our section from 12 to 36 is a little bit less than that. So it's got to have less than 20 students. Questions?
You lost me way back. I have absolutely no idea how to do this problem.
Right, so let's look at the number of students. So track with me. Do you see what I'm doing on the graph up there? Remember, there's 10 students in each quarter, right? Keep that fixed in your mind. There's 10 students in each quarter. So see how on the diagram, if they went from 10, if they had asked me to go from 10 right here to 38 right there, right here and there, then that would have been 20 students, wouldn't it? Does everybody see that? Because that would have been the whole third quarter and the whole fourth quarter. And every quarter has 10 students, right? So that would have been 20 students. But they didn't go quite that far. They only went from 12 to 36, which is a little bit less than that whole section. So we're going to have less than 20 students. All right, I better keep moving. This is something you might need to watch over again. So this is less than 20 students are in that section, just less than 20. Now, how about, let's try the next section. I'm going to go through each of these. I got to find which one has the most. How about 10 to 20? How many students got a quiz score? They got a score between 10 and 20. Let's go back up to the graph. Between 10 and 20, can you guys tell me how many students scored between 10 and 20?
Exactly.
Just
10.
10.
Exactly 10, right on the money. Everybody see that? Because 10 is right here, 20 is right there. How many students got in this range? Well, it says right there 10, right? Because that's exactly the third quarter. Remember, every quarter has 10 students. So that's going to be exactly 10 students got to score between 10 and 20. Everybody seeing that? All right, let's go back down. So that would be exactly 10 students. So that's less than the other section. Let's keep going though. We're not done yet. How about the next section, 3 to 10? How many students got to score between 3 and 10 on the quiz?
20.
Let's go up and check. I think you're right. So look, how many got between 3 and 10? Here's 3. Right here, let me do it down here. Here's 3 and here's 10. How many students got to score between 3 and 10? Well, that's the first quarter and the second quarter, isn't it? That's got to be 20, just like you said, right? Right? Because remember, there's 10 students in each quarter, so 3 to 10 includes 2 whole quarters. So that's got to be 10 and 10, 20 students, doesn't it? Everybody seeing that? Questions I can answer so far? See how 3 to 10 is 2 whole quarters, 10 and 10, 20 students.
Mr. Harrod, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
In my question, they saw like
Okay,
which
I'm
interval.
sorry, let me stop you. I can't answer individual questions till after. Save those to after, please. Just because there's 30 of you out there and everybody has something a little different. I need to address the whole group during lecture time. Individual questions on your particular problem, Crystal and I will be glad to help you, but we have to put those off until the breakout time after this. So any questions about this, about what I'm doing on my problem? Any?
Yes, I have a question.
Making
Mr. Hammond.
sense?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what was that question?
Okay, now, due to this question, it really doesn't tell us that there's 10 students in each one. That's information you gave us. So say we were to get a question like that, do we assume to put, a similar notion to that? Like you
Yeah, because what we do know is this, same number. So however many there are, it's the same in each section. So I just made 10 because it was a nice, easy number. But you could have said maybe there was 100 students in the class. And that means there would be 25 in each section. So it doesn't matter what the number is, as long as it's the same number in each section. It's a good question on that. And I just made up 10 to make it easy. But what we do know for sure is that a box plot breaks the data into 4 sections that all have the same number. So whatever number you want to put in there, I did 10, 10, 10, 10, because it was easy. You could put 20, 20, 20, 20, or 3, 3, 3, 3, or whatever you want. As long as you put the same number, you'll get all the answers right. So between 3 and 10, there's 10 and 10, 20 students. So let's go back down and put that in there. So there's 20 students in this section. 20 students in that section. There you go. 20 students in that section. Let's do the last section. Now, one more. How many got scores between 20 and 38? How many? Okay, 20. So there it is between 20 and 38. How many students got a score? Remember, these are all scores. Got scores between 20 and 38 on the quiz.
10.
Right. So as you look at the box plot again, here's 20, here's 38. What's the number of students that got a score between 20 and 38? 10, right? 10 students got a score between 20 and 38 on that quiz.
How did you come up with 10 whenever 20 minus 38 is 18?
Yeah, you're right. So that's the mistake you don't want to make. It's not the width. There's 2 things going on. That's a great question. And that's exactly the sticking point for so many people. That's a great question. I'm sure you're not alone in that. I'm sure there's a lot of people wondering the same thing. Great question. Let me answer it. It's not the width we're talking about. It's how many are in there. So there's 2 things going on, which is confusing, and you've got to keep them straight. 20 to, if they asked me how wide is the interval between 20 and 38, then yeah, I could subtract those and get 18. That's how wide, but they're not talking about how wide right now. They're talking about how many students scored in that zone, in that range. 10 students got a score on the quiz between 20 and 38. How do I know that? Well, because a box plot breaks the data into 4 sections that all have the same number. That's the key element to a box plot. That's what this section, that's what today's lecture is all about, is that a box plot breaks the data into 4 sections, all having the same number of data values or student scores. So even though this section here is very narrow and this one over here is very much wider, they both have 10, same, and all the sections are the same number of students in them. Everybody,
So you would add the bottom numbers together and then minus it by the the last quarter?
So it depends on what they're asking me. So in this question down here, part F that I'm doing, they're saying which interval has the most data, meaning the most number of students. So if I want to find most student scores, it's not saying which is the widest zone, right? That's why I wrote that, to help you guys not make that mistake. It's not saying which zone is the widest. It's saying which zone has the most student scores. So I looked from 12 to 36, 10 to 20, 3 to 10, and now I'm looking between 20 and 38, and I'm saying how many students. See, I'm always listing how many students are in those zones. So between 20 and 38, let me go one more time, 20 and 38, how many students are in that zone? 10. Does it right there, right? 10 students, 10 scores in each quarter. That's exactly one quarter between 20 and 38. So 10 students. So coming on down here, 10 students must be in that zone. So therefore, now we're ready to answer the question. Which of those 4 sections has the most students in it?
3 to 10.
3 to 10. Exactly. Everybody seeing that? Here's our answer. 3. Why? Because it has 20 students in it. 20 is more than 10 and 10. And this one up here was close, but it had less than 20, remember? So 20 students in the 3 to 10 range. Even though 3 to 10 is not the widest range there, it does have the most data. It does have the most students in it. Does that make sense? All right. I know that's kind of tricky. This is definitely a tricky question. So that's something I'm glad to answer more questions in the breakout time. Crystal and I will be glad to help you. Breakout time. Let's finish this one problem up. Let's go to part G here. What value could represent percentile? What value could represent the 53rd percentile? So now I need to explain to you what a percentile is. A percentile is a ranking from 0% to 100%. So in other words, you go from 0% to 100%, and we're going to rank all the students on how they did on the quiz. And so we're gonna take and we're gonna put the top student right up here. This is whoever did the best on the quiz, you know, and the bottom student down there, whoever did the worst on the quiz. And we're gonna just put all the students at along this number line. That's what it means when you rank things by percentile. And if somebody's right here, this would be the 50%. That is, they're in the middle. If somebody gets a 50 percentile score, that means they did right in the middle. And so they're asking us on this question about the 53rd percentile. So 53rd percentile, or 53, that means they're 53% of the way. So that's just a little bit better than average, isn't it? Is this making sense? If we're going from 0 to 100, putting all the students in line from 0 to 100, the 53rd percentile is 53% of the way. So it's just past the middle. 50% would be the middle. So it's just past the middle. So they're asking me which of these values could represent the 53rd percentile. In other words, which of these scores, these are scores, these are quiz scores, which of these quiz scores could be just past halfway? Because 53rd percentile, 53 percentile is just a little bit past half. So could a 5, if you got a 5 on the quiz, Does that mean you did just a little bit better than average? A little bit past half? Let's go up and look. If I got a 5 on the quiz, I'm about right here, right? Because here's a 3. There's a 5. Am I past halfway?
No.
Be about 17, 16%.
Yeah, to be past halfway, you'd have to be past the 10, because the 10 is halfway, right? See how the 10 is right in the middle? Now, why am I calling 10 the middle? Because you might think 10's not the middle, Mr. Heron. 10's here, and the graph goes from here all the way to here. The middle's about right there. No, no, no. Careful, careful. The middle is 10. The middle is 10. That is the middle score. Why? How do you know? Because 20 people got below that score and 20 people got above that score, didn't they? Remember, it's about how many students are in each section. It's not about how wide they are, right? Does everybody see that? See how 10 is the average score? Because 20 students are below that and 20 students are above that. Everybody see that? Remember, every one of these quarters has the same number of data values in it. So every one of these sections has 10. So that means right here is the middle. This is the middle. This is the average score, because there's 20 people below it, right? 2 quarters below it and 2 quarters above it. So 10 is the average score. So if we're looking for a score just better than average, just above the middle, we're looking for some kind of quiz score that's maybe 11 or 12 or 13 or 14, something that's just barely above the middle. That would be a score just above the middle. So let's go look. Which one of these is just above the middle?
So would you take the 10 and divide it by the 38 to come out with the percentage?
So what did I just say right here? Which score? What is the middle? 10's the middle. So what's just above that? 11, 12. 10's the middle, right? 10 is the middle. So just above 10, which one of these is just above 10? There it is. Got to be 11, right? Got to be 11. That's the only one that could be the 53rd percentile, because 53 percentile is just above the middle. It's just above 50%. And so a quiz score of 11 is just barely better than the middle. So there it is.